Hello, Oracles. Well, Tesla stock is falling despite an earnings beat. Why is this? Well, for those of you who were following last night, we went over all the information for the earnings, all the calls, all of that stuff, all the good stuff that gave us all the good warm and fuzzies that we want to see for the future going forward. But why is the stock falling? Well, they did technically miss the revenues estimates that analysts had out there. They had them at $21.8 billion and they came in at 21.4. So again, they beat EPS, they beat margins, they beat all of the other numbers, but they missed the top line. So really when it comes down to it, the bills that you're paying at the end of the month are coming from your bottom line, not the top line. But as we said before, a mouse fart could change the way the stock price is going to move. And sure enough, the revenues miss is what caused this initially. There's a lot of other things that are going on. When Tesla was talking about their guidance, they didn't give that clear, we are going to be hitting 50% deliveries year over year. Now, as Tesla has always said in the past, and thank you, Laurie, for pointing this out, we usually say Tesla's looking for 50% year-over-year growth. That's an average. It's not going to be guaranteed specifically 50%. It's going to be averaged out over time. 1 year may be a little bit more, 1 year may be a little bit less. It's going to fluctuate. 1 year they were at 87%. So this is how it's going to be panning out over the year because they can't dictate what's going to happen when it comes to headwinds. Think about all the black swan event headwinds we had this year. Tesla can't predict all of that stuff. So they're still looking at production to be growing at that rate significantly. But when it comes to deliveries, things can be all over the place. And they did reiterate that as well, especially going into Q4, that they will most likely have more production than deliveries. So that in itself is going to keep everybody pulling back and say, all right, well, they're going to deliver less, which means that they're going to bring in less money, which means that our estimates are going to come down as well. Hence, the stock price comes down. So that's another reason that it came down. Other reasons that we have out there are macro related. So we know that China right now had announced yesterday that their GDP was significantly lower than they had anticipated. So this is leading a lot of people to believe that they are going to be going into a massive recession over in China. And so that is a concern because that's the largest market in the world when it comes to consumer goods. So over there, if they're going to be facing that, is that going to spread to other parts of the world as well? I mean, looking at the fact that they are the top consumer country in the world, that just means that that market shrinking means that everyone who is selling anything over there is also going to see revenues shrinking. So if Tesla saw that already coming in this quarter and we can relate that to what was going on over in China, is that going to carry forward into Q4 and potentially into 2023? So those concerns are coming market-wide. It's not just Tesla. We can see the red in the market yesterday and a little bit red pre-market at the time of this recording. So right now at the time of this recording, Tesla's around $210, down about 5%. So again, for me, these are great buying opportunities. I will be buying more today on top of the $25 I normally add. So I will be adding a little bit extra and I'm just going to monitor. We follow the charts, the astrology of the charts, just to see where we go in the near term, because that's really all the charts are going to show us is near term thinking. But for me, I'm going to be paying attention to that because if we have better buying opportunities coming, I want to take advantage of those as well. So we'll do that, but again, long term, I think we are going to see some massive growth coming. Elon said last night that he can foresee them potentially becoming larger than Apple and Saudi Aramco combined. That right now, based upon market caps, is just over $4 trillion. Of course, he did not put down any sort of time frame around this, but we know that EVs are already starting to push up there, and coming close to Apple itself with just EVs is a potential, especially once FSD gets solved. That could easily take over Apple by itself. Then you start putting in the energy side of the business. That's where it's going to take over Saudi Aramco. So those two components by themselves will take over the top two spots together in Elon's mind. So taking a look at this without Optimus, it's just mind-blowing thinking about the potentials of where we could go. So now people are saying, hey, you know what, looking down the road, a lot of people have, market caps of the 10, 13, 15 trillion dollar mark in the next decade. How is that possible if Saudi Aramco and Apple are only at 4 trillion? Well, a couple of reasons. One, the entire global GDP will end up growing over time. And then when you put Optimus into it as well, that's going to grow it even more. And don't forget, when it comes to GDP, that is all determined by labor. So if you have an infinite amount of labor, Optimus, then you can theoretically have an infinite GDP, which in turn means that the market cap of the world could be infinite. So that's why numbers like 10 trillion, 13, 15 trillion dollar market caps are theoretically possible. So for me, this is just one of those, hey, this is a scenario I see that could potentially play out. Whether we get there or not, we have to actually get through this. And Elon said himself, it's going to take a lot of hard work and tough times to get to that point, but that is what they are shooting for. So it is a potential in the future. And then one thing that we didn't even mention on here last last night, which they talked about on the call, was the compact car, which kind of like slid under the radar a little bit. They were talking about R&D and what other vehicles and things that they are working on right now. And Elon basically flat out said that yes, they have already worked on the Semi and the Cybertruck. All the R&D that they needed was put into that, so that's done. So now they're working on the next project. The next project is the compact car. He did not say the compact car. They just said it is going to be a vehicle that costs half as much as what they are selling right now, and it's most likely going to be selling twice as many vehicles. It is going to be selling more than all of their lineup combined. So we know this, we're discussing how, that is really the biggest market that is out there right now is a compact car market. We talk about it over in Europe. Places like India and China could also benefit from a car of that size. So that sale itself is going to be massive. So we just need to see, when are they going to actually put this out? My guess is still 2024. But either way, they confirmed on the call that they are working on this compact car, the less expensive vehicle that we have been talking about. So we just got our confirmation that it is coming. We just don't know when. And again, that, coming out to be able to sell more vehicles than the entire lineup combined, especially when the Model Y is looking to potentially be the best-selling car in the world in 2023, that means that this other car will then become the best-selling vehicle in the world in the future. So we'll see how this plays out as we go forward, but we can definitely see it coming. Maybe we get more of an announcement later, but they did say, as per usual, they really want to give it its own dedicated time to show what the car is going to be doing, and they don't want to be doing that on an earnings call. And so I'm very excited about the numbers that we had seen. I think they were solid numbers. We are still growing in the way we want to be growing. So now another concern that we have is Elon going to be selling any more shares? They did discuss the buyback last night. That is most likely going to be coming in 2023. Maybe we get a little bit at the end of this year. But the bigger concern right now is, does Elon still have to sell? Because we have the stock price coming down at the moment. And if Elon still does need to sell some shares, that in turn is going to bring the stock price down even more. So again, we're not going to see any buyers coming in heavily into the stock because these numbers were a beat, but they weren't like a blowout beat by any means. So it was a good beat, but the stock is selling off, so it's like a buy the rumor, sell the news type situation. We knew this was coming, we sold off, now we're just waiting for Elon. That I think is going to be the next trigger to determine whether we are going to be coming back up or not. Once Elon sells, then we can be like, all right, the massive seller that we were anticipating coming in has now come in, we can now buy again. So that, along with the fact that, looking at big money still sitting on the sidelines, probably waiting for the Fed to make a U-turn next year. Again, looking at what we saw in China, there's no real incentive for big money to get back into the equities market, at least not yet. So I think we are going to see that money coming in the future, probably in 2023, which means that for us as retail investors, we have a lot more time to buy at these low prices. And of course, none of this is financial advice, and we could end up pulling down further before we end up going back up. But for me, I'm just excited to be at these numbers because thinking about the stock price that we're at right now and the valuation being around that $600 billion mark, and the fact that Elon thinks that we could become more than $4 trillion, that is almost a 7x in a stock price from where we are right now when it comes to market cap. So I don't mind doing a 7x on my money in the future. I don't know about you guys, but a 7x to me is totally worth it, and I would totally be buying at these prices. Let me know in the comments below, when do you think we are going to see the compact car coming out? Do you think we are going to hear about it by the end of this year, or do you think we're going to be hearing about it next year? Let me know your thoughts. And I do want to apologize to everyone. I didn't have a chance to get back to many comments yesterday. Work was very, very busy, and then I was trying to rush home to be able to get onto the earnings call. So I apologize that I wasn't able to get to your comments earlier. I'm trying to get to all of them this morning. I think I'm almost done, so thank you for your patience on that. And just to let you guys know, there will not be a video tonight. My son has a late soccer game, so I will not have a video out tonight, but I will definitely be back on in the morning. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat. That link is down in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, we do have a Patreon. That link is also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.